This is Scale Her Up, the podcast for female-led businesses ready to grow to seven figures and beyond. I'm Dr. Brenda Hector, business coach and champion for women in business, on a mission to change the stats and help more women scale successfully. Each episode, we share real stories, tools, and tactics to help you build a business that supports the life you want. Follow the show and come and join our Scale Her Up Facebook community because you don't have to do this on your own. And today I've got Katie Backler. She's the Managing Director of Charles White Limited with me today. Katie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here and spend some time with you.
Yeah, it's a great way to spend an afternoon, I think. Let's start with Charles White Limited. What is it that you do there?
Yeah, we provide residential property management services in Scotland and in Northern Ireland. In Scotland, it's called factoring. So we look after communal areas and residential development. So we would, anything that's owned in common with all the owners, we would look after and manage. So we would organise a cleaner for the stair, a gardener for the grounds. If there's communal grounds, we would look after things like the roofs and the gutters, lifts, any of the health and safety things that come with living in a block of flats, and block buildings insurance. So really we work on behalf of the owners, and I guess our goal is always to maintain and enhance the value of their properties. It's a very varied job because no two buildings are the same. If you think of, there's a really wide range of developments. So we might have a development which is all houses, but they've got a bit of communal grounds and maybe a play park in the middle, or it could be a traditional Scottish tenement flat, or perhaps it might be a modern type of development where it's a lovely looking development and there's lifts and there's balconies and there's all sorts of things. So it's a real variety of things, and no 2 days the same. 2 days are the same because we're, you just never know what you're going to come across.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's an obvious question in my head here. Edinburgh and Belfast, that's an odd combination. How did that come about?
I guess it is. So back in 2001, my husband and myself, we bought Charles White Limited off, funnily enough, a man called Charles White, and he was the fifth generation Charles White, and he was looking to retire, and his children didn't want to take the business on. And at that time, it was actually primarily a lettings business. There was a small factoring department, but it was really quite small. And then, and that was all based in Scotland, based in Edinburgh and central Scotland. And we really, over the years that followed 2001, we tried to grow the business. And then particularly, we grew the factoring side of the business through a bit of acquisition and also just organic growth. And then in about 2009, my husband is actually from Northern Ireland, and we had our managing director at that time was also from Northern Ireland. And I guess they could see the potential for factoring, particularly, although it's called property management over there, there just was a great market for it. So we started from scratch over there and have bought a few smaller businesses along the way, and grown in Northern Ireland. And then in about 2012, we decided to sell the lettings side of the business and just focus entirely on factoring and property management. So that's what we've done since then. So yes, it's an unusual coupling, but it's personal ties.
I guess if you can understand the area, because it's not like you can use your connections that you've got and the subcontractors that you've got in Edinburgh. You can't do that over there. But if you've got an understanding of the area and the culture and the people, then you can replicate.
You can. No, that's right. And actually, they're almost two completely different businesses. I guess the services that we provide are the same, but the legal framework is really different in Scotland and Northern Ireland. And in Scotland, we're a regulated industry, but we're not in Northern Ireland. So they're really quite different in some ways. And yeah, I think having the personal connection and having contact that we could begin with. But we do rely heavily on a really good team over there as well, who have a bit more of the local knowledge there too. Yeah.
So do you have to spend much time over there?
I don't spend loads of time over there. My husband tends to go over more than I do. We're in contact with them a lot, but we have a great director over there who's really good at overseeing the team and just really has bought into our vision and values. And so that makes it a really good fit for us, and we trust him and he's very capable. Yeah, so that really helps us. But we do keep in a bit of contact, and my husband does like to go over a bit, and he can catch up with family when he's there as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's good. Let's go back to buying the business from Charles White then. Yeah. So were you involved, or where did that decision come from? Where did you work for him,
So
or?
no, not at all. Not
Sure.
at all. We actually got married in 2001, and my husband, so I was living in Edinburgh. My husband, Edwin, he was living in Aberdeen at the time, and he moved to Edinburgh. And he'd worked for an oil service company for a long time in their finance team. And he was ready for a new challenge. He'd done the big company thing and was keen to get stuck into something that he could, he's quite entrepreneurial. So wanting to do something himself. So we were looking for an opportunity that didn't require, a real expertise. We didn't need to be qualified. One of his friends from university actually works for an accountancy firm, and he was working in a team at that stage that did a bit of buying and selling of these smaller companies, like family businesses, people looking to move on. And so it was really through him that the opportunity came up and we heard about it. And at that time it was mainly lettings. And I suppose we thought we'd be taking on a business with an existing team who are there already. So we don't need to know everything about the business.
Yeah.
We can learn, but I suppose we can bring the leadership to that and bring a new vision and a direction of travel. So there was no personal contact. It's just what was there at the time.
So you were looking for a business. You were going to be business owners of some kind, and
that's right.
One that fitted first.
Yes. That is right, yes.
Okay.
So yes, we didn't, it's a funny thing because we didn't choose this as a career, I suppose, but we've chosen this as a business. Yeah.
I love that though, because they reckon that the businesses that survive are, I don't know, have you ever read the book, The E-Myth Revisited?
No, I haven't.
No, it says that the businesses that do well are where the person is a business owner rather than the technician. So if you had been the letting agent, you might have just got bogged down in the day-to-day of being a letting agent, where actually you bought in to be the owner and just to run the business rather than actually be the
Yes, that's right. So I suppose neither of us have done the detailed job, but we've learned a lot about it over the years because we need to. But it's a different way of coming at it rather than having a skill set that you want to grow.
And I think a lot of people think of starting a business, what can I do? But actually you don't have to. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I suppose my background was I was trained as a chartered accountant and my husband was trained as a management accountant. And I think it does. And I think just between the two of us, we had quite a good just general business understanding of how things work. I'd worked in audit, so I'd been in and out lots of different companies and seeing how they work. And that, you just gain a lot of experience through that and seeing how different people do things.
So, you knew a lot. Did you discover that you didn't know a lot when you got started?
I feel like I'm still discovering I don't know a lot. I feel like that's a daily occurrence. There's still so much to learn. And I suppose even more recently in the last couple of years, in Scotland, there's a professional diploma that recently was introduced, which is run by the Property Institute. And I recently did that because I felt like I just need to improve my technical knowledge in the industry and make sure that when I'm making decisions, I know exactly what the implications of those decisions are. So I would say I'm still learning a lot. There's always something new to encounter and get your head around.
I'm just thinking about when you started then, when you bought it over. What were the challenges that you had, the pair of you taking on somebody else's business?
Yeah, I think it was a well-established business that had a really good reputation. But I think this is true of a lot of businesses. When someone who is an owner of a business is looking to retire, there's generally a bit of a tailing off in terms of impetus and I guess vision for what's coming next and investing in people and systems and things like that. So when we took over in 2001, although there were computers, the accountant who'd worked there had worked there for 50 years and did things on the computer, but also did things in a ledger because she didn't trust the computer. So the systems needed quite a lot of work. And I guess that's not something you do overnight because you need to figure out what system you need to move towards. There was a great team which made a huge difference. But again, it's hard for a team to suddenly be faced with being told you've got a new owner now, and there's the uncertainty of that, and there's the change and the unsettling that brings. So I suppose a big part of the job is just trying to reassure people that we're interested in them and their experience, and we want to invest in them and bring them with us on wherever we're going.
Did you manage to bring everybody with you, or did you lose some?
No, at that stage, we did bring everyone with us. The team was quite a well-established team. And I think maybe there was one or two people who were of retirement age. So we're thinking this is a good time to stop. But the team has obviously evolved significantly since then. But for the next few years, certainly it was a fairly stable team, which was great because it does make a huge difference.
Well done you, because it doesn't always happen like that, does it?
Yeah.
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 Working with your husband?
Yeah.
Will we just touch on that a bit?
Why not? I think you probably had guests on your podcast who
Many.
are in a similar situation, and it's been such a positive experience for us. We're quite different personality-wise, and although we both trained in finance, our skill sets are actually really quite different. And so we bring different things to the company and to the business. We're not really clashing or competing in terms of what we're trying to achieve.
So you're the MD. What's his
That's
role?
right. His title is chairman. So
Okay.
he's really interested in, obviously his interest, he's very forward thinking and strategy and where we're going. He also does a fair bit of leadership consultancy. Now he's done that just within our team, but also externally. So he spends a lot of time one-to-one with people in our team, trying to help them develop as leaders and grow and just realize their potential. And he really loved that. He's a great listener and seems to be able to bring out the best in people. So he does that. And I guess I'm more involved in the operational side of things. So supporting the teams. Yeah, I suppose I'm big on trying to reinforce our vision and our values and establish and maintain the culture that we want our place of work to be and our business to be. I feel quite often like I'm a peacemaker, whether that's within the team or with clients, representing us externally. When you're a smaller company, we have a team of about 50 altogether. But you do
that.
Yeah, so there's about 30 in Edinburgh and 20 in Northern Ireland. And we do, when you're a smaller company, I suppose the MD role looks different for every company because it kind of just depends on your skill set and your experience and what you're interested in. But yeah, the things that I've mentioned, and I think just looking after the team, we're a service industry. So we need to make sure that our team are well looked after. They're feeling like they're cared for. We champion them and we can encourage and nurture them. So I would see that all those things as part of my role, but there's lots of bits and pieces that come along with it as well.
Yeah. And so working with your husband, do you bring work home or are you really strict on the boundaries or?
We're probably not as
difficult?
strict. We're probably not as strict as we should be. We actually tend to be office based on different days. We have a couple of days that overlap, but then we're in and out. So quite often when one of us comes home from work, there's a bit of a catching up. We try not to talk about it over the dinner table, although our children will sometimes say, stop talking about work. But I think, it's a funny one because I think it's a very healthy thing to be able to share things. Being in leadership can be lonely and it's good to have each other and to, whether it's venting or just sharing your day or asking for your thoughts on something. Yeah, for us, the lines are probably a bit blurred outside of the 9 to 5. But I think on the whole, that's a really positive thing because running our own business has given us a lot more flexibility as a couple and as a family than we would have had if we were in jobs for somebody else. So, yeah.
I worked with my husband for a while, for quite a few years, and I felt like I saw a different side of him that I wouldn't have seen, to be in the work environment.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah. And again, it's a really positive thing, isn't it? Yeah. It does make you realize that, yes, we all have different skills and his skills go far beyond what you necessarily see in the home.
Blue jobs in the house. Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
I shouldn't say on this sort of format, but there are those.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you mentioned acquisitions.
Yes.
So growth by acquisition, that's, just tell me about that. Is that
I suppose
your experience or what advice you would have to someone else thinking of growing by acquiring other businesses?
So I suppose when we first took on Charles White in Scotland and there was only a few developments, we bought a reasonable sized company at that stage. And that was a brilliant way to grow quickly. But it's also really challenging because you're trying to integrate systems and people. That's a whole different thing to buying one company as a standalone entity. So again, when we took over that company, all the team came with it. Their culture was different. Their systems were different. The way they did things were different. It was a different office location. And I think in your head, underestimate actually how challenging that can be and how much work it can be, especially because it was big compared relative to the size of the factoring business we had. So I would say that that took quite a lot of work and quite a few years to feel like we had fully integrated it. And I guess we made mistakes along the way, and we probably lost some of our clients along the way because of it. But it did give us this bigger base, this bigger, I suppose, client base to work from, and many benefits that come with that. And then in Northern Ireland, we've grown a lot organically there just because of where the market's at. But we have bought 2 or 3 smaller companies along the way. And I suppose, again, there's been similar challenges, but it's helped knowing what to expect and
Is
where the
it
challenges might be.
is it easier
Um,
second and third time?
in some ways it is, but there's no escaping the hard work of integrating things. In fact, in Belfast in Northern Ireland, we bought a company about a year ago, and we're still integrating the systems because it just takes a long time and you want to do it really well. And I think there's a lot of change for the team who are in the company that's been bought over. And so just trying not to change everything all at once, because the thing that will suffer is your service if you do that. So it is a long, slow process. It's exciting and it's challenging and it's a bit scary at times as well, but it's been really positive for us. I don't think that's the only way to grow. And obviously the challenge with that is raising financing to do it in the first place. So yeah, but I think having a bit of both has definitely helped us. A bit of organic growth as well as acquisition has been a good mix for us overall.
So let me ask about the raise. You mentioned it, raising finance.
Yeah.
Then, and do you know that one of the things this is all about supporting female-led businesses, and one of the big challenges that women have is access to finance.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk me through.
Yeah. Again, I suppose that's been different. That's been really different. Loans from our bank. We've got a very good relationship with Royal Bank of Scotland, where we've banked for forever. But the challenging thing with being a service company is we don't have assets. We don't own anything because we rent the office that we're based in. And so you don't have anything obvious as security. We've had to provide guarantees. Our house has been involved in that at various stages on and off. More recently, I suppose we went through a long stage of saying, let's just try and pay off the loans that we've taken out over the years to buy things and just feel like we're in a stronger position. And I think having done that and then having ticked along for a few years, the things that we have invested in Northern Ireland, we've actually been able to pay for ourselves without having to raise external finance. And that's been amazing, actually, because that just makes such a big difference. I think the season we're in as well, we're not really wanting to take on new debt. It feels very different when you're in your 20s and 30s and you've got this whole career ahead of you. And I still have plenty of working life left in me, but just trying to just do it from what we have now. But yeah, I haven't looked into lending and financing recently. I imagine it's only just getting harder and harder for people to access that. So it's not easy, and it can involve an awful lot of personal sacrifice, I think, along the way.
Yeah. So yeah, what would be the top tip then for?
Oh, I think if you're going to buy another company, doing your due diligence firstly, so you feel like you're investing in something that's actually going to work for you, because the worst thing would be to find some financing and then for it not to work out
So
either.
have you said no to potential acquisitions then?
Yeah, we have. I suppose quite a lot of the way we've ended up buying some of particularly the smaller businesses in Belfast, has just been through networking. So the director in Belfast is a great networker. And so he would spend time with some of the other business owners and they started speaking to him. But I suppose we want to make sure that the kind of developments that are being managed align with our portfolio and that it feels like it's a good fit. Culturally, there'll always be differences, but it's not miles apart from how we would choose to do things. Yeah, so there's lots of things to consider, really. And I suppose with the financing, I think I would just say, just explore everything, contact everyone and try as many different options as you can. And there might not be one easy solution, but it might come from a variety of there might be a bit of a piecemeal approach. You get a bit from here, you've got a bit of your own money. And I think sometimes we look for a very clean solution and it's generally not like that. You generally have to work quite hard and look to a variety of places.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Then the other thing I wrote down when you were just telling me the introduction is that you sold off part of the business.
Yes.
Was that, talk me through, was that a difficult decision? Did that just make
I mean,
sense?
it was a difficult decision in terms of feeling like you didn't want to let anyone down. And people who obviously worked in our lettings team, it was a huge thing for us to have to tell them. But I suppose we were reaching a stage where we had, although lettings and factoring is both property, they're completely different. They're completely different businesses, really. And both had become and were becoming more and more regulated. So that was a new thing back then. And we just felt, actually, rather than spread ourselves thin and try and be experts in more than one thing, let's just pick one and focus on it and make sure we do a really good job. And so I think when we weighed it up, we felt there was more potential with the factoring side of the business than the lettings. And that's really how the decision came about. It was hard telling them. We sold it as a business and the team moved with it. But again, I don't think there was anyone left at that stage who had been working for us right from the beginning. So it wasn't like a second change for them, but it is quite a big shift. They stayed in the office. Actually, we moved out that office and they stayed there. So that definitely helped. But yeah, it's a really difficult thing to have to say to a group of people. I'm such a people pleaser and I don't want to let anyone down that it's
quite a theme coming through this. It's all about change management, isn't it? And making sure that the people that are experiencing the change are comfortable, are happy, or
and it's just I suppose it's trying to do it as well as you can. It's not a perfect situation for them, and it's not necessarily what they would have chosen. But I suppose we tried to manage that in the best way, and I'm sure we didn't get it perfect, but we did our best, and we're very mindful of them in the process. I think that's the important thing. Yeah.
So, in terms of choosing a buyer, then. How did you, because it sounds to me like you would have been very conscious about the right organisation to take on that.
Yeah, I think
baby of yours, if you like.
Yeah, it was my husband who was primarily involved in that. But a lot of it is just word of mouth and finding out who might be interested in taking a business like that on. And it's a very difficult thing because you're trying to keep that confidential.
Yeah.
Because obviously we didn't tell the team really until it was all signed and sealed and it almost happened instantly. So you're trying to test the market and find out who's out there without really advertising it. So again, doing it through, I think we probably did it through our friend again, who was working for an accountancy firm and in that kind of field. And he found a match for us. Yeah.
And then the due diligence process, so that actually from finding a match for you.
Yeah.
Getting the money in your bank, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a lengthier than
it can be. Yes, it is, because I suppose people, and that was the other way around than us buying a company, but they want to make sure they're buying a solid business and that they're not going to find any horrible mistakes or, just horrible things that would actually have stopped them from buying it. So you're trying to, obviously there's confidentiality agreements signed and things like that, but providing them as much information when you have to be quite open. You're sharing financial information, you're sharing information about your clients. And just, I suppose, it's a kind of an audit of them looking at everything and just saying, yeah, this is the business we think it is and we want to buy it. But again, we were having to do all that without the team knowing. And it does take months. These things it's a bit like buying or selling a house. You always think it should be quicker than it is, but solicitors involved and things drag on. And so it's always a few months. So I think it's the sort of thing that is on your radar. It takes a lot longer to do than you would think. Yeah.
And now you've been involved in both sides of it. So,
yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask now about Katie. What have you learned about Katie over the years as an entrepreneur?
Oh, gosh. I love learning. So I'm always interested in learning from people and asking people questions. I think I would have been someone who was not particularly confident and would have only done, at the start of my working career, I probably would have only tried things if I was 95% sure that I would actually succeed. And I think part of it is just time and experience, but I feel a lot more comfortable with unexpected things crossing my path. I suppose just that experience of problem solving and of taking stock of things and trying to find a solution. I think time has really helped me and made me a bit more comfortable with that. So I don't feel quite, help, when I see something that I think I'm not sure what to do here, or this is new, or this feels like it could be quite a big thing. So I think, I think just learning to be comfortable with what comes next and not panic. I think I've become a lot more resilient over the years in terms of I suppose when the business has gone through its ups and downs, and just my husband is called Edwin, but he's nicknamed Steady Eddie. He's a very calming influence and just is very relaxed about everything. He doesn't get anxious or panicked about anything. And I think that's really helped me and helped me become more resilient in the mix of that. Yeah. And I think just as time goes on, I realize more and more just how much people really in relationships and work are everything. I love coming into work. We've got a brilliant team. They're great fun. They're hardworking. They're really skilled and passionate at what they do. I love being around them, and I love thinking, how can I make their lives easier? How can I make this a place of work that they really love coming into as well and want to stay? And yeah, we do with people. And so it's just, yeah, I love just being around people and investing in them and learning from them. And I think for me, that's where just the core of things sit in terms of my leadership experience and how I've grown and developed.
So you're a service business. You're doing things with people, for people.
Yes.
And if
that's right,
people are doing it well, then people are having a good experience, and it keeps going round, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, really. And I think in the mix of that, we've really spent a long time on our vision and our values and what our culture should be, because we realize that is just so key in terms of how we operate as a team, how well we do things, how well our clients are looked after. And so I guess over the years, I've learned quite a lot about what that looks like and what's important for us. It's different for every business that you come across, but what our priorities have been, and just, spending time on that.
So what advice would you have for another woman following in your footsteps, looking to start or buy or scale a business?
Gosh, there's lots you could say, isn't there? I think a big lesson for me when I was younger was to separate who I am as a person with what I'm doing. So that in the past, when I was younger, if something didn't work out, I would then put that on myself and say, I'm a failure. I've not done that well. So I think a key lesson for me earlier on was separating those two things and knowing that things will fail and things won't always go to plan, but that doesn't diminish you, or shouldn't dent your confidence so much that you stop trying. So I think I would say that's really important to get your head around that. Now, some people have no problem with that, but for me, that was a challenge. And I think the other thing I would say is just, I think we're very polarized. We're very black and white. Something's either working brilliantly and really good, or it's really bad. Whereas the reality is that those things coexist always. So being comfortable with things being some things being really good, but some things being really difficult and challenging at the same time. Being comfortable with both those things at the same time is a really big thing, I think, to just get used to and accept and work through. What else would I say I think just go for it, back yourself and give things a go. Not everything's going to work. We've had things that haven't worked particularly well and circumstances that have not gone our way, but just be confident and have a shot, because I think the tenacity and sticking with it will bear fruit eventually. So I think that's probably the things off the top of my head that I would say.
Those are awesome. Perfect. Brilliant answers. Amazing. Is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't asked you, Katie? Anything you want to add to the conversation?
Anything I want to add? I suppose I'm going to just brag a little bit. Our team in Scotland in the last couple of months have won an industry award, and that's been a really exciting thing.
Won. I definitely should have asked you that. I wasn't aware of that. It went right out of my head while we've been chatting.
So we won.
Tell me about an industry award.
So we won Managing Agent of the Year for over 5,000 units for 2026. And that was at the Scotland Awards, which is an event run and hosted by the Property Institute, which is like our industry body. So it was it was a really big deal for us. Just such a huge encouragement to the whole team, because it was a team effort, and just being acknowledged for working hard at our service, at our operation, how we communicate with people, what we're doing within the industry. And so that's been a real boost for us. And we're very excited to have won that, and hope that leads on to other exciting things as well.
So did you take the team to the awards?
We did. Not the whole team, but those that wanted to come came along. But it did feel a little bit, in some ways, like we were the underdog, because we were up against some much bigger companies who look a bit more jazzy, I guess, than us, and who have a louder voice sometimes than we might have in the industry. But we've worked really hard the last few years. I really think it's important to make sure that what goes on in the background, your systems and your processes are robust and that they're agile, so change as and when you need them to. And we've done a lot of work on that. And I think that gives us such a strong base for then how we serve our clients and how we can grow. And it felt like we felt confident applying for that award just to see and being nominated for it because it just felt like everything was in the right place. Yeah, it was very exciting.
I think awards are a big part of action coaching,
Yeah.
with the other part, with my other hat on.
Yeah.
But I sometimes I meet business owners who go, no, I'm not applying, or it's
Yeah.
just a fix. Or
Yeah.
a lot of people don't have a great mindset around
Yeah.
awards. And why did you apply?
Yeah.
Or what was your reason there?
Yeah, it's a really good question because if I'm being honest, I probably would have fallen into that category as well. I don't really want to push myself or push our company forward for this. But I think because we just feel like we're in really good shape at the minute, we've got a brilliant team who work together well. Our culture and our values are like a daily part of how we do things, as well as all the systems. And it just felt, to be honest, it was some of our other leadership team that were like, we have to apply for this. And I was like, they really are convinced. And I should be as well, but I needed that wee nudge. And so we spent a lot of time on our application and kind of thinking about what makes us different or why do we believe we're in a good place? And I think that obviously was the right thing to do. And like now in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, why did I feel reticent previously about ever doing something like this? Because when I see the impact it's had on our team particularly, just that sense of belief that has increased and that confidence, not arrogance, but just confidence in what we're doing. And I think it increases the team's ownership of it all as well. So it's just, even if that was the benefit of it, it's been worth it in such a big way, but just to reinforce all those things.
I suppose there's your current team
Yeah.
and your future staff
Yes, exactly.
that might come to work for an award-winning organisation.
That's right. And people do notice. And we will publicize that in our website and social media and things. And people will think, oh, that's somewhere that I really want to work. And hopefully it's too early to tell, but hopefully that'll be true of clients as well.
Yeah,
They'll see us and think,
yeah.
but you must be doing something right. And so we're interested in finding out more about your service. So it's just, it's hard to quantify what that benefit is because it's not tangible in a sort of sense of numbers on a spreadsheet or anything, but it feels big and it feels just, a really positive and healthy thing for us as a team. Yeah.
So what's next for Charles White then, or for Katie Backler?
Oh, gosh.
What are the big goals ahead?
What are the big goals? I think, we don't set really detailed targets, but what we do say is we want to keep growing a really healthy company. And what does that look like? And that's what our targets would focus around because we believe growth will come as a result of that. So I suppose the focus is to continue to grow a healthy company. We've all learned since lockdown that things change quite quickly. You have to be willing to tweak and adjust things and reassess things all the time. And I think that's just a normal state now to be in, I think. And so continuing to have that mindset of wanting to grow and wanting to learn and acknowledging what's going on around us, whether it's AI or a change in legislation or regulation, and just being adaptable to those things. So I suppose it's wanting to be on top of that and to be thinking about those things constantly. And for me personally, I suppose I'm at a season of life. I read somewhere that you have the greatest influence in your life between the ages of 55 and 70. I think I know exactly. I've not quite hit the 55 mark yet, but I'm working my way towards it. And
me either, but it's really good to know that there's
I suppose you've got all this life experience and this confidence and a skill set. So I suppose I want to be generous with that. I want to be able to give that away to others, whether it's within our team or beyond that. So I'm always interested in meeting up with people who are on a journey, whether that's at the same place as me, whether they're further ahead, whether they're younger in their journey, and just being able to encourage and share things and be generous with my experience and skills and learn from them too. So I think that's always going to be a big part of the next few years for me, because I'm sure you talk about this, but being a leader can be lonely, and being a female leader can be lonely. And I think it's really important we try and find community in different ways, whether it's through a podcast like this or whether it's actually face-to-face meeting with different people. So yeah, so that's always going to be a big part of how I spend my time and who I meet with and things like that.
Brilliant, brilliant. There's a new tagline that's it's not really out there much yet, but I think Scale Her Up. It's about women supporting women will change the world.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I think in the past, we maybe have had a tendency to be competitive, and we're all better when we work together. There's room for us all, and markets are generally big enough to accommodate more than one woman doing the same thing. So yeah, so I think just trying to work with people and alongside people just make life so much more enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's a really good message to end on, Katie. I wish we had twice as long to talk, but thank you so much for being a guest on the show today.
Not at all. Thank you again for having me. It's been really good to chat with you.
And I will remind you that only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs are female, and men are 5 times more likely to scale past £1 million in turnover than women. When women match them, we'll add, I used to say 250 billion to the UK economy, but I learned yesterday it's more like 310 billion.
Wow.
And create millions of jobs. So that's why Scale Her Up exists, to change those numbers one business at a time. Thank you for listening today. If this episode helped you, please follow the show, leave a review, and share it with another female business owner who needs to hear it. Join the Facebook community and connect with me, Brenda Hector, on social media. I love hearing which episodes resonate with you. And I just want to remind you that you're capable of more than you think. Keep going. We're scaling up together.